just want to do a little bit of a kind of a hot take on the storm Hurricane Ian, which, as you can see here, I've got NOAA's satellite imagery pulled up. It's a pretty well-defined storm. I believe it's currently a Category 3, or it's predicted to be a Category 3. And as you can see, it is just north of Cuba, and it is heading towards Florida, where it is expected to make landfall. And folks, I wanted to just kind of give you a quick little rundown on this, because this is a storm like this is one that should be definitely given the respect that it's due. Category 3 storm is really on the high end of what hurricane-prone areas are built for. So I myself am a resident of a area that gets hit by hurricanes all the time, and so it's something that is kind of part of the ethos of being a resident of where I live. And when we construct buildings to be hurricane tolerant, they are tolerant up to a Category 3. So for example, the hospital that we have is rated to Category 3 and up to a certain level. And most hurricane prone areas, critical infrastructure will be built to a hurricane Category 3 kind of specs, meaning that they can withstand that level of sustained winds that a Category 3 would cause. However, as we've seen from previous storms, when these things start to get close to land, they can sometimes slow down. This is what Florence did. Florence came to a crawl of no more than about 5 miles an hour, and just torrential downpour, which really overwhelmed all of the sewer systems of the area and caused a lot more flooding throughout the state of North Carolina than I think anyone had ever anticipated. There were areas that were well outside of the main path of the storm that were flooded to the point that entire houses were underwater. Many of the farming areas in North Carolina were that way. Also, there's a high risk when a hurricane slows down prior to making landfall over warm water that it will continue to strengthen. And I believe we saw this with Katrina, where Katrina was projected as a 1 or 2, and then before making landfall, it quickly developed into a much, much stronger hurricane. I'm going by memory here. I want to say it was a Category 4. Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, if it actually hit Category 5. So the reason why I wanted to bring that up is with this one being projected as a, let me get back to it, get back to the satellite imagery here. With this one being projected to be a Category 3, the danger of it becoming a Category 4 or 5 is pretty high. So no one should be allowing the category number to lure them into a false sense of security. Also, hurricanes tend to have a mind of their own. They're going to, the projected path may say one thing, and the reason why the reason why NOAA only projects out to 72 hours is because there's just too much variability. As you can see here with this cone, the further away it gets, the wider that area becomes. It's not unusual for a hurricane, for example, to coast right over Florida. I hope this doesn't happen, but if you can see my mouse, I'm not sure if my mouse actually shows here, but I'll just kind of do this to kind of show. It could pull over Florida. It can go right back out into this nice warm water here in the Atlantic Ocean, power itself back up again, and then harass South Carolina or North Carolina. That has happened before with plenty of other storms. It could make just a northerly track where it's going to just go straight north and up into the Panhandle. That's a possibility. Then it will go into Georgia and will hopefully start to dissipate and break up, because it won't have its fuel source. It won't have that warm water underneath it at that point. But storms can do really strange things. So as you can see, this advisory is as of 11 a.m. on September 27th, advisory 18. I wanted to get this out. I'm just going to show you guys a couple of these things here. This is the tropical storm force wind probabilities. So Florida, definitely you're 90 to 100% chance. And if you reside in an area where you even have some of the lighter greens, so I'm talking about folks that are in Georgia, South Carolina, and North Carolina, it would be worth it to go ahead and prepare to have that 72-hour supply that FEMA recommends, right? So if you guys have never gone to, I think it's ready.gov, that is FEMA's official website for emergency preparedness. And they recommend all citizens have 72 hours worth of supplies on hand. This includes critical medications that you may need. For example, if you take blood pressure medicine, a big one is if you are a diabetic. If you have insulin, insulin has to be kept at certain temperatures. It's not, it spoils if it's left at temperatures, if it's left at room temperature. I'm not a doctor. This is not medical advice. This is just a hot take from a person on YouTube. So talk to your doctor. But if you don't have this for the next 72 hours, it may be worth it to make those calls to your physician. Get prescriptions or refills filled if you need it. 72 hours is the minimum, right? So if you can have a week's worth, that's a better target. And I'm not trying to be alarmist at all. I'm trying to be pragmatic, and I want, saying is prepare for the worst, hope for the best, right? So hopefully everything will be fine. This thing will come through. It's going to cause some damage. It'll take down some trees. It'll weed some stuff out. 72 hours later, cleanup will be underway, power will be restored, and life will go back to normal. That's what we're all hoping for. But there's a scenario where this thing could go down to a crawl. It could it could strengthen before making landfall. It could affect an area much larger than just the state of Florida. So right now, everything in the news is talking about Florida, but I want to be a little more big picture. As you look at this image here, if you are in the yellow, have that 72 hours of supplies on hand. Go and get it right now. Absolutely, go and get it right now. Have 72 hours worth of water. So for water supplies, in the event that, say, your sewer, not sewage system, but your freshwater system, your municipal freshwater system, suffers some type of failure or contamination, the rule of thumb is to have 1 gallon of water per person per day. So if you have a household with 3 people, you should have 9 gallons of water on you, okay? And that's really kind of considered to be the bare bottom. That's water for you to consume. That's water for you for cleaning yourself off, washing your hands. I will tell you from personal experience, in the aftermath of a storm, a lot of things happen that people aren't really expecting. So, for example, I know of a person who unfortunately lost their life when they were cleaning the debris after the storm. They had a broken branch that punctured their leg, and they didn't think anything of it. It was an older fella, he's probably in his late 50s, early 60s, but he got a wound, and it was within, right after Florence had gone, it dissipated. However, it had some bacteria that got into his system, and within 48 hours, he went to the hospital. There was nothing they could do in time, and he unfortunately passed away. So that was a death not directly caused by the storm, but caused due to the aftermath of the storm, where just someone trying to clean up debris in their own home, had an injury, and that injury became severely infected. And so anyhow, along those lines, hydrogen peroxide. Hydrogen peroxide is really not a great first line of defense, in that you're not supposed to put it directly on a wound, because it indiscriminately just kind of kills everything, to include your own cells. It causes the cell to actually explode. It's good for obviously killing bacteria. It's good for disinfecting an object, like for example, if you had scissors or if you had a knife or something, you could dip it in hydrogen peroxide. But you wouldn't want to, it's not recommended to pour it directly on wounds anymore like it used to be. Alcohol, so rubbing alcohol, would be good to have that on hand. I will tell you, from the storm that I went through a few years ago, those antiseptic items were some of the hardest to come by in the aftermath of the storm. So you couldn't find hydrogen peroxide or rubbing alcohol at any CVS or Walgreens or any place. It was actually only a very small local pharmacy with very limited hours that I was able to find some, and that's because no one went there. No one knew about that. So everyone went to the 24-hour places like CVS and Walgreens and cleared those shelves quickly. So if you have a mom and pop shop that you go to, support them first. Don't even bother with the rat race of Walmart or Target or any of that. Let the masses go to those places. You find your local shops. You support your local folks. They'll appreciate it, and you'll have a better time finding the goods that you need. Okay, so we covered a little bit of first aid. Hopefully everyone has a first aid kit. We've covered water. Water's the most, so, obviously, to stay alive, you need air. Hopefully that won't be a problem. Hopefully we will have air. But if you're in an area where you're flooding, that might be a problem. Keep your head above water and don't drown. So it's 3 minutes without oxygen. It's 3 days without water, and I believe it's like 3 weeks without food. You can go a long time without food, but like solid food. But obviously that's pretty miserable. You're going to become very weak and potentially succumb to just lack of nutrition and exhaustion if you go that long without food. So make sure you have your water supplies first. A boil advice. So I'm going to say this too as well, because the city that I live in had to deal with a hurricane, and the population at large didn't realize how close we came to having our municipal water system utterly fail. But we did. It was certain connections, and I won't go into too much of the details, but it was a certain branch of an emergency service provided by my location that was able to save the city water supply, because they didn't have enough diesel fuel to operate the pumps. They failed to prepare, and most folks aren't used to turning the tap on and having no water come out. That's going to be a psychological shock. But we've already experienced this year in Jackson, Mississippi, where they had a contamination problem, and it literally was like mud junk water pouring out of their taps. And the city's official position was boil advisory. Well, I'm sorry, if it looks like you have fecal matter in your water supply, boiling is insufficient. You need some pretty heavy filtration. So myself personally, I'd rather have water on hand that I've picked up prior to an event and deal with it that way. If you do rainwater collection, so let's say you collect water during the storm, it's 8 drops of bleach per 1 gallon of water. So maybe have a little bit of Clorox bleach on hand with a little eyedropper if you want to go that route. There are also tablets that can be ordered. But again, if you've waited till this point, these are going to be a little bit harder to find. Probably be better just to go ahead and load up on water. And then easy stuff, like get yourself some canned food, get yourself some other items. And this is my flight. This is what us pilots would be looking at right now. You can see this is not an insignificant storm. Let's see here. Let me hit play. So it looks like in QX, that airport looks like to be the closest to the eye of the storm. You can see that there are some really, let me find the NOTAMs for. I just did one from Miami to that one in the Keys, so that we could grab the briefing. And you can see here these are pretty extreme winds. You see plus 25. These are winds that you'd never ever fly a Cessna into. This completely exceeds what my aircrafts are able to handle. Not to mention gust factor is very dangerous for an airplane during takeoff or landing, because if that gust suddenly stops, then you don't have nearly the airspeed that you thought you had to fly. Or conversely, if you're trying to land and all of a sudden you get a gust, you stay aloft a lot longer than you anticipated, and you may overfly the runway at that point. Or again, if you're coming in and you've got a good strong gust and all of a sudden that gust stops, you may pancake down a lot quicker. So very hazardous conditions for flying. I would assume pretty much all flights are going to start to be canceled, definitely down here and in QX. And you can see here there's the storm itself. So I won't bore you guys with METARs. This is just what us pilots have to know how to read to understand this. I'm going to keep this on the screen though just for a few moments. If you are fluent in that, you can read that for yourself. But in just a second here, I'm going to read some of this myself. So, because this is a flight simulator channel, and because simulators are not real life, air ground facilities subject to interruption. we are going to... Yes, yeah, okay. Huh, Boca Chica. Alright, so Boca Chica Naval Air Station is closed due to that hurricane. But we're going to do what any dummy could do in a simulator. So, what was that? NQX, I believe? And we're going to do real-time live weather because, of course. Let's not do a Cessna. That sounds like a great way for me to die. Oh, as much as I'd like to fly a Cessna Citation, I think Ryan's going to pick... Okay, so I'm just chuckling at flying a Halo Pelican into this. As tempting as that seems, or the old Dark Star. I do think we are going to go with a military aircraft, though. So, should we do the Raptor or the F-18? If I could do a poll right now, if this was a live stream, I would leave it up to you guys to tell me. But let's go with the F-18 Super Hornet. And let's give me some gas. No failures, please. We'll keep my call sign of Foxy Mama. And, I'm just taking a look here. You can actually see that is the storm in Microsoft Flight Simulator. 17 minutes. So let's see if I can do this real quick, guys. I just want to take off. I want to fly into that. See what heading that would be. So okay, 180. All right. So I might try to edit this down a little bit in post-production just to save you guys some time. But let's see what happens. Alright, and we are aloft. Oh, climb out here.
Going for Foxtrot, Mike, leading my airspace frequency change approved.
Alright, frequency change approved.
Navy Key Tower, Boeing 7 tree for Foxtrot Mike frequency change.
Let's get ourselves a VFR mount. Actually, I'm going to stick under these clouds for a little bit. How high do you think a hurricane is? You don't have any idea? Probably should have looked that up before I took off and decided to fly into one. Oh. We're starting to break through it. 6,000? You know what? Shoot, let's just go up to 10,000. You know, I don't know if I'm inverted or not. Okay, now I am definitely inverted. Okay, alright. There we go. Alright, let's slow down some. Bring my nose down. Oh, there we go. So I opted for this aircraft because I knew it was gonna, alright, so I wanted to try to have a little bit of a comparison here. So let's look back at my satellite map. Oh, let's do the actual good one. Come on. Well, that's not very helpful. I do still fully intend on trying to climb above this hurricane. You can see I've gotten pretty far away from all the other folks. And let me just get this out of the way. Okay, there we go. Alright. Man, that is gnarly. Alright, well, if that wasn't worth the flight, I don't know what is. Alright, so up here at about 17,000, it looks like I've gotten above the storm. Man, that is a mean-looking storm. Props to Microsoft Flight Sim. So it looks like perhaps I'm on the outer edge of it. Let's see if I can. Yeah. Just so you know, I'm completely inverted right now. So you're looking at the ocean and the clouds. That's pretty cool. Alright, well. See where I am as far as my map goes. So I believe if I was to be someone who's betting, those folks there are probably closer to the eye than I am. As you can see from ForeFlight, back to this. See, I got enough altitude. My airspeed looks good. I think I can coast a little bit. So, we are. Oh, please get out of my way. Get out of here. Cancel. Alright, so I've taken off from here, flew through these areas here, and it appears that the eye of the storm is right over there. So. Now that we're at 20,000, we're going to start a little bit of a descent here. And just taking a look at the cloud formations. Look out. I go level off here around 15,000. There we go. Wow, look how much fuel I've burnt. Oh, let's just do a little in-air refueling. The wonders of being in a simulator. Oh! I am at a loss for why I'm losing altitude right now. Alright, well folks, I just wanted to give you guys a little view there of good old Hurricane Ian. And see if I can get some of these things off. Definitely not a hurricane to take lightly, and I hope everyone will be prepared. If you haven't kind of gotten things in order, go ahead and do so now. And if you need to evacuate, if you live in the Tampa area, if you need to evacuate, go ahead and hopefully you've already made that decision. If you are going to stay and try to ride out the storm, I hope that you all have taken appropriate preparedness steps. And yeah, these things are not a joke. Not a time to play around or to take things for granted, because Mother Nature is a cruel mistress, if you will. And every time there's one of these storms, there are people who, you know, for whatever reason, they decide to go head on into the storm thinking that they are invincible, and they find that they are not invincible. In many storms, there are usually a handful of fatalities, and every loss of life is tragic. And I hope that that people will just take this video as a warning to be prepared, be ready, and make the best of whatever is to come. Alright folks, thanks for watching this video. I hope that this information was useful. It's something that we all have to deal with. It's reality of what it is to be an American that lives on the eastern seaboard. Hurricanes are a part of our life. So that's all I have to say for this video. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you all in the next video.